chapter 4, verses 4 and 5. Come to Bethel and sin, to Gilgal and sin all the more. Each morning bring your sacrifices, every third day your tithes. Burn leavened bread as a thanksgiving sacrifice. Proclaim publicly your voluntary offerings. For you so love to do, Israelites, oracle of the Lord. Looking at this text, a couple of questions arise. First, what are these places mentioned at the very beginning, Bethel and Gilgal? We know they were both places of worship, and we know a lot more about Bethel. That was a royal sanctuary in the northern kingdom, and you can see where it falls on the map. This is a very popular place of worship, and so Amos probably chose it because he'd have a large audience. We know less about Gilgal, including we don't really know where it actually falls on the map. In looking at this message, we can see that all the people are clearly being addressed in this passage. Unlike last passage where it seemed to be debatable, was it the wealthy or potentially all, this is clearly looking at all the people. It's also clear that Amos has kind of a mocking tone in his words. He mocks the people for their worship practices, it seems. Why might Amos do that? According to John J. Collins in the Catholic Study Bible, religion, worship, without justice is an affront to God. In this interpretation, the people are displeasing the Lord because they're too concerned with their liturgies and their elaborate worship, and they don't have enough concern for justice and righteousness in their community. And so Amos may be kind of mocking the people and kind of not encouraging them, but really kind of making fun of them because they are so misguided. They don't really know what the Lord really wants. This kind of leads to a larger point that Georg Amos makes in looking at this part of the book of Amos. In his view, the people have failed in three ways. One is the wealthy live a life of luxury from violence upon the weak. And we saw that at the very beginning of this chapter when he was calling out the wealthy elite for their abuse of the poor. Amos also talks about how the leaders abrogate justice through bribery, that people were capitalizing on the justice system and making money off of what should be a very fair and equal system, and that leaders and wealthy folks were taking advantage of that system. He also calls out a third way in which the people are making a mistake, and they trust in their elaborate worship, and which doesn't really promote justice because they're so concerned with it and not concerned about the people. And the people think they're doing the right thing, which leads to a false sense of security for them. And so these kinds of mistakes, we can see that language kind of in Amos's tone, kind of mocking the people in their elaborate worship. That they think they might be doing the right thing for God, but ultimately they're ignoring, and as Collins talks about, they are acting in a way that's an affront to God because they are so focused on worship and not justice.